Hello, and welcome everyone to your regularly scheduled Saturday programming. A little later than usual, but hey, we both still have a life, believe it or not. We have things to do, and yeah, but here we are, live for all of you. Just gonna make sure I edit all the details on YouTube so that people may actually understand that we are alive as we are. So, uh, okay. So how you been doing, man? What's up in your life? What's up in the life of Zerloth?
Yeah, no, it's good. I took care of some financial situations and worked on a whole bunch of little bits and pieces of things. Going through my reading regimen with stuff. I'm doing a short book right now on Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky and breaking down basically some of this socialism situation, right? I'm looking at all this stuff because his work is part of that, and
Hmm.
there's a lot to say on it, and I don't want to get into a whole discourse about that on the show, today. But as I'm going through that, you can see all the roots of a lot of the faulty foundation of the thinking on the left.
Hmm.
It's the kind of stuff where it's like you hear it within their conversation, but then if any outsider comes in on that conversation, they will avoid these core things and make it um, something else, or they will make it about the person um, causing a stir, right? And they'll
Hmm.
pick some flaw in you because that's what's that's kind of a major problem, right? It's people are talking about like, oh, like Charlie Kirk only debated idiots. Yes, you admit that the college universities are producing idiots who don't know how to prepare. You hold guns to that college kid's face and say, "Go unprepared and argue with Charlie Kirk." Some guys did prepared debates with Charlie, but that's completely different, right? Because that's a completely like a whole setup, right? As opposed to he shows up and then all of you're not, out of everybody that you chose to champion your values to come up there, that this is the best that you produced. And Charlie's only in his early 30s, late 20s, mid 20s, really, when he started. So,
Yeah.
it's not that somebody like Charlie is so intelligent and wise. It is, it is just that he is very good for his level of education and social decorum at um, at arguing his point of view and even coming to, albeit slow, concessions to aspects of things that he may be wrong about,
Hmm.
right? And because those things fall under morally horrible in some cases, um, they don't want to see that, oh, a person who once held morally horrible beliefs can be can change, right? And they don't have, but it wouldn't be good enough to just change. You'd have to come out, you'd have to say I've converted to your ideology, and you'd have to grovel and go through a humiliation ritual for a period of time until everybody says, okay, you're a good and proper bitch in our community now. right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of this attitude, and they do not see how that's actually fascism, because fascism as a tactic uses coercion as one of its aspects, as well as threats and actual force. The idea
Yeah.
is that you are getting everybody to conform to one thing. That conforming process is a grooming process.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, debates I had with a person today brought that up. Good old Facebook, serving to divide us as it is meant to.
Gotta love Facebook.
Don't we all?
Boomer book.
Boomer book. Well, boomers aren't very good at their own fucking thing, are they?
No, no, not anymore. No. Um,
I don't think they ever actually were, right? Only the boomers that made it themselves, and then every other boomer that was like, I don't know. I mean, my dad's a boomer, and he's absolutely terrible. He's been terrible with things even before smartphones. Even dumb cell phones were a little bit difficult for him.
which is interesting considering they are like they grew up with all the tech pretty much, like from the very beginning. Yet somehow, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, a little, we are better than your average boomer, at least with with tech. That's just seems odd.
Well, the problem is that the boomer both became raised as somebody who's dependent on systems, but also still kind of lives in the real world. And then Gen X was kind of like living in the destruction of the real world. And so, they're sitting there not really liking the relationship with the digital so much, right?
Hmm.
I'm just young enough as a Gen Xer to kind of be way more into it, right? Because then it's all the millennials that have been really raised this way, because they came of age when high speed internet was delivering everything, and we were able to make the social media experience what it was in its first phase, right? And
I keep
so that,
I keep forgetting that you're older than I am.
yeah, yeah. I've run with young crowds and old crowds, depending. I'm yes, for people don't get it. I'm 45, and people don't want to believe that. But then again, they don't want to believe that that vaccine is hurting them. So whatever. I'm just gonna sit here and chug my raw milk. Thanks. You don't
Dude, you're
get to tell me what's fucking healthy, motherfucker.
not anymore.
Not
No.
anymore. Not anymore. Things have become quite self-evident.
Oh yeah.
No. All right. So we've been at it for a minute, a good warm up.
Hmm.
I think we're good to get into the weeds of some sort of a reading. Do you have something in mind?
Um, More personal, more general, more. What is it?
More general, more general. I want something that can relate to the audience. I can give you a personal reading
Um,
either next or in private time if you'd like, and because you host me here, I'd do that for you for free.
um, Oh God, that um, I honestly have no idea what's going on in the world. um, oh yeah, I mean, there's something playing here on a national level, which should be well, there should be some interesting results coming out of it.
Okay. All right. So don't tell me nothing about what's nationally going on in Neanderthal and Netherlands. Netherlands.
Close, close enough. I'll give it to you.
This troll called me like a Neanderthal. Like he was like, "Hey, yeah, your ancestors were like dirt, whatever." So I was just like, we played with mud or something. It's just like, oh, the dirt. You mean where the food comes from? You're welcome. It's like, no, 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 just slinging mud or whatever, right? It's just like, oh, just slinging mud then. Oh, okay, sure. What I can't remember. I had a good witty response. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. But he was making really really stupid arguments because he probably pins me for like a fucking like an NSBM guy.
Hmm.
It's probably what he thinks because the manner in which I asked deconstructing questions in a different comment, and then he came over to find a picture of me on my Facebook to make fun of. One with me with my
Wow.
makeup getting like smeared from sweat, right? And just trying to lean into look at this poser pagan, right? It's the he's making the poser pagan argument from his little
Oh
whatever
yeah.
fucking corner of liberalism that he comes from. But anyway, so it was very
That's.
interesting to hear him make such wide swathing insults and such. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay, you know, we'll see what all the people observing this conversation think it really did productively. Biting through, creating success, fruitful to use legal proceedings. This is 21. Ooh, lots of glare there. There we go. Got to get past the lamp. It's time to bite through to the truth of the situation and deal with any obstacles fiercely. It will help to use the determination of an investigator or judge intent on restoring the world to good order, who will let nothing stand between them and the truth. What must you do to get the truth? How can you become more effective?
Hmm.
All right. Now, what shall be the guiding spirit on this matter of state? The red squirrel. A red squirrel, which is, I believe, wood. Yes, this is a wood elemental. So that's fifth element, ether, right? Resourcefulness, vigilance, preparation, and busyness. So yeah, yeah, I think the squirrel energy is kind of self evident in that respect.
Yeah.
Um, Six of arrows, reversed, transition. Okay, so this is about the dysfunction in some sort of switch off. Somebody's switching off something economically, or a power structure switch off. Um, this kind of thing, right? Um, People are having trouble thinking about how they can accept this transfer in a way that to their liking. We have with it, uh, we got Laguz reversed. Laguz reversed. So it's having this problem for the same reason why government corruption exists in the first place. Everybody's really shallow because anything to look deeper is to accept one person or the other's theory is correct, right? And
Hmm.
if that theory is associated with a political ideology, people will have a hard time accepting it, right? It takes a while for these issues to become transcendent. Here in the United States, um, the culture no longer sees Israel as something above suspicion. That's just a fact. Our culture just doesn't see Israel above suspicion anymore, with the exception of um, of uh, of zealotous Zionists. Right? That's about it. Unless you're a zealotous Zionist, um, as opposed to a rational person, right? And whether people understand that it's connected to Israel or not, um, everybody knows on both sides that the Epstein file is is a real thing, regardless of whether the file in question is a Democrat fabrication. That's public the public's right to determine if they agree with the decisions of their Congress, right?
Hmm.
That's not a good reason. If you want to say, listen, we can't because there's still an intelligence operation going on, I think you could at least say that with because your enemy's already going to know it's part of an intelligence operation anyway, but that's not what they want to say. The only thing they want to say is that Donald Trump was an informant for the FBI, which is his alibi for being on
Okay.
the flight list. That's about it, right? So I'm just giving you examples of like these are not bipartisan. It's like Democrats, Republicans, liberals, and conservatives are all release the Epstein files. Trump supporters and anti-Trumpers are like release the Epstein files, right? We're sick and tired of why they're not being released. We don't care because the conspiracies, whatever, we just all have agreed, release it. Just like we've all agreed Israel's no longer above suspicion, right? Now the government just needs to be forced to actually reflect that because they're going to have a hard time suppressing it, especially with the new freedom of speech guidelines that have given us more freedom of speech than we've had in a long time. A lot of that stuff, which is why all sorts of people are back on YouTube or will be coming back on YouTube. I keep harassing my buddy Corey at the Phoenix Enigma about that. But anyway, let's get back onto your reading. But I really wanted to hammer home just because the one thing I know is that it's a matter of your state, and I'm talking about matters of state that are like it over here. Um, in our Urd, the origin of this, so we have the seer reversed. So um, the predication of the transition is based on a false assumption of what is coming. Like let's just say it's typical climate change stuff that's getting in the effing way. Let's say that the matter is that
Hmm.
climate change. I'm not saying it's a scam in the way Donald Trump said it was a scam at the UN last week. But what I am saying is that it is a fact that their predictions of the consequences of this change in climate that we theorize we understand the reason for its change, it hasn't come true. Coastlines haven't moved. The weather seems a bit different, but we're still basically operating in a four season system. And it's volcanoes produce like a million times the output of carbon in like one explosion versus what all the manufacturing of human beings on Earth make in a year.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's ridiculous when a super volcano blows its top. And even then, it's not like the weather got that much warmer or colder somewhere else on Earth, let alone with the exception of right where the top blew because the pyroclastic cloud is blocking the sun. And for no other reason than there's a blockage of light, like any kind of cloudy day and the temperature drops.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're working off of, false um, models, right? If I do not have proper interpretation of what I am reading here, then I can't give you something that helps you deal with the eminent issues arising. And I don't get that feedback. I've never had feedback turn around and say that was a completely improper manner in which you set up the entire situation, and what you told me to do damn near killed me. I've not gotten feedback like that ever. Not even close. I've gotten always the exact opposite feedback. Ansus. Now, Ansus is upright. So there is something that's true. There is a real underlying message that everybody's trying to figure out. There's that in there. It's in the mix, but it's not being perceived. It's not being perceived clearly. So we have the Eight of Vessels here with rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
So this is meant to pour the abundance back into the whole. Right? This is the one that's got the great cascading, the three bowls into the great to this larger kind of hanging cauldron, dropping into the four bowls, and then going into the water and going into the stream of life over here. So that's what this thing means to people, right? It means like this is how we keep the perpetuation of our vitality, right? There's an emotional impetus that makes it work that way, and that's why there's this impasse, because you're afraid of this kind of thing being disrupted. And we have urus here. So what this thing is also it's very strong and healthy, this thing itself. So what this is kind of telling me is it's kind of starting to sound like what it means is that um that you're not making the prediction for the future based on seeing the strength and the the purpose of the thing as it is now, as its real value is, right? It's kind of like, it's like guessing wrong in the stock market. You bought when you should have sold,
Mm-hmm.
right? This kind of thing. And so, Skuld, so what we got to do about this? Well, we got Page of Arrows reversed, the Ren, right? So we're under threat of not learning a lesson from these circumstances. We're not minding how the predictive models of the past were wrong. And it's putting us in a vicious cycle, because with the eight here, you're also talking about um, the cycle. And is the cycle replenishing itself or feeding on itself?
Yeah.
and we have Yera, Yera, and so this that's a very appropriate rune, considering the relationship to the past being tied in with this Ren, right? So you can be stuck in this loop that's going to, have its cause and effect impress upon you, right? The
Mhm.
biting through process, right? It's getting to the point where the block in the transition, right? It's like when the cycle is completed, you've got to move up to the next cycle. Otherwise, it throws you back in and then you start over. It says fruitful
Yeah.
legal proceedings, which is very interesting. That's a part of it. 21 is also the world card, right? So that has all those implications. It's time to buy through the truth, the situation, and deal with any obstacles. Investigators. Let nothing stand between them and the truth, right? So with whatever time there is left to make a decision on this matter, somebody has to be that intellectual uh, bloodhound, if you will, the guy who does the investigation and the report and has to find the missing lesson in here, right? There's that Ansu's, right? You've got
Yeah.
the which means probably the data, the raw data that the predictions were made from was probably true. It's just the interpretation of it was wrong, which is a great deal of what we get out of scientism today, right? Because then everything gets rationalized on mathematical theory, which then throws you into a pseudoscience that only works in the mind, and then it becomes kind of a corrupted form of sorcery. So, what's going
Mm.
on in the Netherlands?
um. Well, to nobody's surprise, our government fell a while ago,
Ah,
and we are going to have elections coming pretty soon. And yeah, it's looking like there's gonna be um, well, either another or a further um, swing to the right, like just massive swing to the right, and
yeah,
um, but like at the same time, of course, the the left voices, let's say, are more vocal than ever. So I'm just very curious as to what this is going to do, what this is going to mean for the country, because
like I still don't understand what it means when one of these European parliaments collapses, right? Like
mhm.
what does it mean, right? Because it doesn't stop anybody from living their lives, right?
No,
You know,
that's
like
that's
like,
true.
like I suppose it might stop things from changing that need to be changed, things upkept that need to be upkept as far as legislatively is concerned. But like I don't know, man. Like who's making budget decisions? Who's making taxing decisions? Right? It's just like what is if it's all just going to run without a government? Then why do you need a government?
Like, yeah, without an official government, because that's the thing, they can't make any um
I mean, like while the government is shut, like while your government is like non-existent, your borders under whatever your agreements are, like whatever level of nationalism you exist at is being enforced, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that's happening. It's all just kind of on autopilot. You know, um, you would think that if you really needed a government that badly, you would have expedited the process before somebody starved to death. I love how this implies that anarchy works, but it doesn't. It only implies that we don't understand how our system works, right? So
Yeah.
they say the government's falling apart. I think they just don't have a they just it just simply means they don't have a production for you, right? It's like it's very interesting what's going on in the United States, right? We have a government shutdown. We're in the middle of one right now. So
Yeah.
it's not the same thing. We're like, oh my God, everybody quit. Like all the fucking senators and bullshit are all still there, right?
Mm.
And a lot of people will work, like certain workers will work without pay during shutdown periods. Like, I got family that work in government positions will that will be in those kinds of things, right? So, um, but the difference here is that you still have all these absolute basics operating, and you've also got the problem of all these tenured people in the entrenched bureaucracy at the Federal Reserve, and so
Hmm.
you know we're having trouble getting rid of them. Now, I say that you have the same problem, right? It's just like, or at least you probably don't see it as a problem. For you, like government falling apart doesn't mean anything because you still got all these assholes that make everything happen, and a cop
Yeah,
can arrest
they
you.
just
It's just like
can't
being
push
taxed.
through.
You're theoretically being taxed without representation right now. So that means
Yeah.
by American culture standards, you have every right to have a revolution. No
I mean, we
taxation
should.
without representation, unless, of course, you like what's going on,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Well, no.
Now, doesn't doesn't theoretically you still have like a low profile king over there?
We do. We do. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have um any real power.
That's a lie. That's a lie. He's a king. He actually has all the power. Why do you think the government works when it's shut down?
Yeah.
Doesn't have
Okay.
to
I
fucking. He doesn't
guess.
even have to fucking do a press thing. It's.
No,
I guarantee you. You know what's going on
that's
in
up to
Britain
the
right now?
prime minister.
This is why it's going on in Britain. This is why it's going on in Canada. King Charles was just in Canada. Canada's still part of the fucking empire. Canada's not sovereign
Yeah.
in any way, shape, or fucking form. They're just operating under certain colonialization rules, right?
Hmm.
We have corporate colonies out of America. We have all these American corporations that make that the government makes these deals with foreign nations, and then these American corporations come in and make a little slice of America that runs adjacent to the various embassies related to that stuff. So American staff can go there and then hire locals to work at their local wages for the American companies, and that kind of creates this American corporate empire, which is the globalist infrastructure.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean,
yeah,
basically,
no, they still have the power. They just put it in the
mhm.
back. Otherwise, like if he's a king, you're giving him money to be of no power, and nobody sits there and says, "Listen, like broski, you got to go live in an apartment. You got to, dude. Like, how much did your fucking wedding cost?
Too
Like
much.
everybody just like they're just entitled to it. Like, no, that's not the way. That's not the way the actual reality works. So I think that's been everybody's problem is that they've looked at the remaining royalties of these nations,
Mhm.
and they've been convinced that they don't have the power,
I
right?
mean, they do have power. Of course they do. Otherwise, they would like literally not exist
Right.
anymore.
They certainly have the power to live a life of luxury in your
Yes, they
nation
do.
and be the most highest level of protected, the most above suspicious uh, person, and the only
Hmm.
person who isn't legally a subject. If a king exists, that implies that you are a subject,
Yeah,
regardless of whether you may also apply as a citizen. You still have the difference between the fact that you have a fucking guy who can call himself a sovereign
yeah,
and takes your money so he can live in a fortress
and doesn't pay any taxes
and doesn't pay
himself.
any taxes. But does he own any businesses? He doesn't need all of your money just to keep up his fucking lavish lifestyle. You think he
Well,
spends all his fucking money
that's
on
the
50
thing.
fucking yachts? Really?
The the royal house, officially speaking, do not they do not own any businesses, but they are, you know, large and sometimes the largest shareholder in certain companies. Like the Royal Airlines,
Sure.
for example.
But that
They are
that makes you
majority.
the chairman of the board. The chairman of the board has more power than the CEO if you're publicly traded or whatnot.
Yeah,
So there you go. There you go. And no one's going to sit there and you've got this guy. Your government takes your money, gives it to him, and then he invests that money in stock so he can be a chairman of the board of a corporation from your country, and then he can lobby, with that thing to make the government do what it's going to do. Right? It's just like there has to be something holding up your fucking country when theoretically the government doesn't work, and you have a king. There's your like try it, put some pressure
mm,
on, but like don't accept. Oh, I have no power. Just like he's taking your money, make him do
yeah.
something. Fucking put some pressure on him, force him to reveal the fact that he still has power. Britain needs to understand this. Why do you think it like there is such a level of non-change? It's insane the way they'll win their election over there and then it all goes ultra fucky, right? During the pandemic, I mean, Trump and Boris Johnson were both really fucking bad, but I think Boris Johnson was way worse in how he treated the UK than Trump
Yeah,
treated America,
yeah, for sure.
right? And why? Because ultimately they're taking fucking orders from the crown, just like Canada.
Yeah.
If the crown has if the monarch has authority over Canada, he has fucking authority there. He's a monarch, still has an empire. You've got a monarch that only has his country and his corporations. So he's a
Well,
peasant,
and
but
I mean, like, and like connections, blood connections, also to
yeah,
every other European royal house, pretty much. Like
you got to
the whole.
understand the power of what it is to be a king, your bloodline, your ancestor. Like you got this continuity. You've got quite the edge over other fucking people with what is kept in your family, right?
Yeah.
And absolutely none of these royal people came out of peasant stock in ancient past.
Oh no.
They go all the way back to the original literate persons of their line.
Most likely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and of course, some of them also continuitous to former oral traditions of their line, and all
Hmm.
these different things, right? You know, um, not far off from Box saga relations, familiarities, and
True.
compromised bloodlines of today. All them are part Jewish.
Yeah, probably. Probably. Yeah. I mean,
Look, the Box saga is right about how the breeding program works with the rabbis, but the rabbi was a title. It wasn't inherently a Jewish title, right? But
yeah.
the Jews now have all of the, like you don't say rabbi without thinking Jewish priest class. And we don't
Yeah.
understand exactly where a priest class started from. Like just the tradition of priests themselves, right? This is why I loved the Bach saga so much.
Hmm.
I mean, like even when I hear about all sorts of other histories and stuff, like it doesn't quite exactly say like how the first priest kind of came to be. They just kind of mentioned there was a first priest, when you're talking about some temple in Egypt or whatever, but you don't quite, but it's just like it was already understood what a priest was. It wasn't like, okay, we need someone who functions like this and that, and we will call it a priest, and that is where a priest came from, right? The Bach saga actually fucking says things like where these ideas came from in word
Yeah.
or in culture. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, it's gonna be interesting the upcoming elections. See what the, well, let's just say supposed results are going to be. And I'm very curious if
right,
um what party is gonna come out on top, because either we're going back hard left or we're still going, strong hard right.
right, right. Well, I think that I think that likely you're probably gonna go. Um, well, wait, you've been hard left, right?
For years. Yeah,
Yeah,
although
yeah.
the
And
last
when last time you collapsed, it went hard left to hard left or whatever. It was
hard left to hard right.
so it did. It made it. It made such a transition.
Um, the vote wise,
Yeah.
yes. Cabinet wise, there were some there were issues. Let's say it wasn't a fully right cabinet, and
Right. Yeah.
it took a long time to get the formation
You're
going.
probably likely to get the same thing. It'll go hard right
Yeah.
rhetoric and a handful of the most pressing public issues will you'll get good changes come out of that, but you'll probably see all sorts of problematic staff people. Like here in the United States, most people are fucking pissed off at uh, the Justice Department people in the Trump administration. You know,
Hmm.
Pam Bondi is a fucking dumbass blonde, basically. Fucking Cash Patel is
Oh yeah, that guy.
he's got like this resting derp face.
Yeah.
He's got this resting derp face, Dan Bongino fucking drops the goddamn ball so fucking hard on all of his integrity. He completely destroyed his fucking reputation to give that answer on behalf of whatever the deep state of the Justice Department is.
Hmm.
Ridiculous fucking statement. Look, it's in the report that he killed himself. That's how I know. Okay, Dan.
Sure,
So
bro.
you're not. So all of the questions you had about how the physics of that, yet no, you're done with those questions. No longer are concern to you, right? And he's got that bug-eyed look. So like whatever. Um, Yeah, there's all sorts of shit like that. You know, RFK is not the best spokesperson for the health
Mm.
agenda, but he's at least doing a decent job, right? Like, there's a great deal of good shit coming out of the health reforms in the country right now, right? The
Yeah,
president is tweeting the endocannabinoid system. That's amazing to me. So, your whisper
sure.
in the woods is the woods itself. Be like the woods, calm, soothing, mysterious, and full of life. So, what this tells me is that this time, a time before we make a decision where we can lean into um, just looking at who we are, just like looking at the life all around us. If particularly if you can look at the rustic aspects of the life all around you, right? And can this attitude get adopted, smooth over the irrational, and emerge with something that isn't just some superficial matter of which you're pushing a few numbers around and opening up the valves between globalism and nationalism.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure we haven't had anybody in the chat today.
no, no, unfortunately not.
All right.
We're still, we're still good
All good.
convo though.
What's that?
Still a good conversation. Still something that
Yes.
is, and I especially indeed should, think over the amount of power that the king like really has, because there is no way he has no power.
Right. Yeah.
Should
This
should.
is for all you guys, right? I mean, like in conspiracy land of Asia, right? Like there's still people that listen to like Ben Fulford, right? And so
Mm,
I haven't listened to Ben Fulford in a long ass time. But Ben's one of these guys that says that there's still a power. He thinks it's a benevolent power of one of these bloodlines of Japanese men who is like part of the true emperor of Japan, right? And because Japan still actually has an emperor.
yeah.
There's no empire, but as far as there being this, but they never had to concede the imperial position. They just had to concede the power of the imperial position. And I believe in this case, though, I think he doesn't take money. I I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a long ass time. I don't think about it that much. I'm just vaguely aware of it, right? But there's still some people uh, that are listening to Ben, and that always reminds me of the Emperor of Japan theory, because that's what ties into his global like ninja good guys thing, which
Hmm.
I kind of I love that too much to not believe it, but I really don't believe it. But I love it too much to not believe it. That's my fucking position on Benjamin Fulford,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But my point is that I've done all this work, and there's like you can find all the like the legal documents that make these claims apparently very true about the shadow power of uh, of who still exists, because there's a reason why these bloodlines were not made rid of, but yet they are nothing but a passing thought in your mind, and never mind how much money you fucking give them, because only because people tell you this is the former king, that you not think of the fact that we're giving these people money so that way they can still be the king, when they seem to be more like a Kim Kardashian, right? And at least
I
Kim
mean,
Kardashian, she may suck, she may not have deserved any of the money she was ever given, but
mm,
that money wasn't, nobody held a gun to her head or a delete button to their bank account and said, give me money or else, right? Somebody wanted her to have money, and somebody agreed to give her their money and not someone else's money, right? That,
yeah,
that, so like, that's just, celebrity stuff, right? It's like, you just want, like, oh man, you're so cool, if you keep doing that, I'll keep giving you money for it, you can have big mansions and all that stuff. And meanwhile, it's like they're doing nothing, because they're just like maybe shooting like little videos or something like that, and they've got
mm,
the name of their daddy or something like that. But at the end of the day, the point is that they didn't get their money because somebody took their taxes. Um, you know, Communists and socialists are these petty tyrants um, that they act like kings, and they get free money.
yeah,
So you see how that you see how that works, right? It's entitlement, and this is where, like, it's, if you watch me reading Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, I just read through the section where he talks about his trinity of the haves, the have-nots, and the have a little want mores, and
hmm,
it is such a convoluted description of the upper, the middle, and the lower class, which you would have been better off just saying that. Um, it was such a horrible description of it, that it was just so shallow. It's exactly as shallow as everything underlying the left's arguments today, which,
hmm,
just like, there's no such thing as me being capable of being better than I am as I am now. There's no such thing as that, and I have a right not to be that. And because there's consequences for me having the right to not be that, I expect for you to pay for those consequences so I can continue to be all right while not being all right, because I'm doing or not doing something that's good for me or bad for me, right?
yeah,
It's just like, I want you to pay for how I live my life.
true,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And then the second you say, I don't want to do that, you're the fascist. Oh, okay.
and we all know how they would like to deal with fascists.
Right, right.
They shouldn't exist, so therefore we are going to make them not exist, or at
Yeah,
least not any longer.
right. Because it's the irony of not knowing that that's a fascist thing to do.
Yeah.
You're bonded together under your ideal. You're bound together as many stalks to form a hard, rigid whole. And now you are browbeating all stock that has not bonded to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's
Nah, yeah,
that's
that's
how the fasci work, and why we have the word fascism. And now, if you explain this to somebody who says they hate fascists, they
they
won't
don't understand.
they won't understand, because they only think in terms of political fascism, and not
Yep.
understanding that you're saying political fascism, but you are talking, but you are putting that on someone who is talking about wanting to be exclusivatory from other people's particular uh, ways of doing things. You're
Hmm.
saying you've got to be in it or you've got to be uh, chased away, and there's no in between because you are a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's just a question of, do you have the courage to trust yourself when you get into these arguments? Because for some people, to great effect, things like the Kirk assassination will make them think, if I engage in this political discourse and they respond a certain way that lets me know that they think I'm like Charlie Kirk, I should recede my thoughts right now before I get one in the neck. Right? And so they're trying to inverse the power of the martyr, right?
Hmm.
Because it's either you're afraid or you double down. It depends on your convictions, and it depends on it also depends on whether you personally know how to be effective with your convictions.
The world is a strange, strange place.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and that's okay. I can outstrange it any day of the week.
Yes, yes, you can.
All right. I think I've had a good amount of fun. It's too bad that nobody pops in. It's really too bad.
Yeah, yeah, we've had a bit of
Really
a
should just,
dry spell.
yeah, I really should just talk about who's cheating on who.
Hey, let's try that for next week.
God,
See
God,
what the
God, God forbid I don't try and insult my client's intelligence. I ought to
let's
do
try
that. That's how
next
I make
week.
all the
See if
money.
I mean we should really try and do a stream like that just for shits and giggles. And I want to fucking bet the algorithm is gonna pick it the fuck up.
Eh. We'll do a comedy bit. I don't want to do a whole show like that. We'll do a comedy.
Yeah. No, okay. Yeah. 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 Sure. All right. Well, I mean, thanks for this conversation. Thanks for the
Yeah,
reading. I'll have to play it a few more times just to really try and get the message. And I'll of course make sure to forward it to all the other all the other duchies. Um, you know, they can use it. So yeah, thanks, bro, for coming on. I know it was a bit late, but thankfully we still were able to do it on a Saturday. So yeah, for everyone watching, for everyone listening, thank you very much. It is always appreciated. If you want more, be sure to tune in again next week or contact Zarulath privately at zarulath@yahoo.com. And yeah, he'll give you, you can work out a more private reading, more private session. Doesn't have to be X-rated. Can be X-rated. Doesn't have to be. Make sure to subscribe to his channel as well. If you like what I do, you're gonna love what he does. Um, yeah, support the Graham Pagans on Patreon, patreon.com/GrahamPagans. Since YouTube doesn't want to monetize my channel, it's the only way that I can make a bit of a buck of it, and I've been doing more Patreon only content. It's been a little slow lately, but it's because I got slammed with work. So anyway, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Zarada's channel while you're at it. And we will see you all again next week for another high-minded discussion and rune readings. See you then, guys.